everybody. Welcome back to the latest edition of Terrace Talk. Obviously, a 2-2 draw for Norwich the other night at Deepdale, coming back from 2-0 behind to pick up a vital point. Obviously, going to hopefully try and back that up with a victory on Sunday. It is a Sunday kickoff for anybody watching. Keep that noted. Of course, don't turn up at Carrow Road on Saturday. Middlesbrough, the visitors to Carrow Road. With that, delighted to be joined by Jonny from the Boro Breakdown Podcast. Jonny, first and foremost, really do appreciate your time this afternoon. Lots to get into throughout this show. But let's start with last night, a victory for Middlesbrough, probably a vital victory as well. I think if I'd have spoken to you 24 hours ago, maybe the mood would have been a little bit different. 2 successive defeats prior to that. Victory over Sheffield United, who, of course, had a pretty positive start to the campaign. I know they lost to Leeds the other night, but that was a disappointing defeat for them, but obviously going to Riverside, a chance maybe to try and bounce back. You guys obviously done a good job on them, a clean sheet. Latte Laugh back on the score sheet for the first time since the opening day of the campaign. I'd imagine it's a much vital win for the morale and the mood.
Yeah, definitely needed as well. There was a lot of frustration on the Saturday when we got beat against Bristol City. And it was a game where I felt like I'd seen about 10 times over already this season. Boro having really good chances, not putting it away. The other team not having any chances really, but then we would give away a stupid mistake. And then next thing you know, they've got a chance and they put it in the back of the net and then we just can't get back into the game. But last night, I thought we were excellent. We were brilliant from start to finish, defensively really strong, which has been a big improvement over the last 6 months. And yeah, Manuel Latte Laugh, someone who really should be on more goals than what he is, has missed some really big chances, put it in the back of the net, and we were delighted with the win. And fingers crossed this could be the start where we are more consistent in the league, because we should be realistically higher than what we're currently showing at the moment. So there was a little bit of frustration on Saturday, but now I think all is forgiven. Unless we lose again, then it's everyone else's fault, right? So, but that's football, isn't it? It's a very emotional sport, isn't it? So, but yeah, right now, happy because it was a big result last night.
Yeah, you mentioned obviously the sort of start to the campaign more generally. Currently 8th level with 17 points with Norwich. Both sides, of course, probably got aspirations to try and push for top 6 this season. More generally, what have you made of the start to the campaign? I mean, scoring goals seems to be a little bit of an issue from sort of the data I've seen. I think you're sort of third bottom in terms of goals scored in the Championship. Yet, it seems like maybe that defensive record you mentioned is pretty positive. So, what have you kind of made of the performances and the results so far?
If I was to say it in a word, Adam, I would say it was probably frustration. And we've looked at Boro's team this season. We've invested, I would say, reasonably well in the market. We're building on a squad that we had from the previous season, which started off fairly slow, but then got better as the season went on. And for this year, it was a case of, right, the expectations there. We want to, kick on this year. We've got a fairly decent start with the teams we're playing against. And, we dominate the ball and we do really well from that first phase, the second phase, get into the box. And it was slowed down a little bit, and you can see it in our numbers, really, that we've got the most touches in the opposition's box than anyone else. About like 80 plus more, whatever it is. And it tends to just slow down. Teams get back in position. We don't really create the chance, and then it's just not working out for us. But then also, we'll create a really good chance and then miss it. So we'll create 2 big chances, we miss them, and we're creating like multiple chances throughout the game where like half chances, but it really does drive your XG up in terms of like the numbers. So on paper, we look like a really good side, but the frustration was we weren't putting games to bed when we needed to. And then on the second side of it, which to add to the frustration, was the individual errors. So you've probably seen Isaiah Jones pass it from the halfway line, and then Derby went and scored. You've probably seen Luke Ayling Matt Clark bump into Sini Dieng, and then Portsmouth go and score. And, there's a compilation of individual errors, which has probably led to this frustration. People going, oh, well, Aaron Danks, who left to go to Bayern Munich in the summer, it's his fault that he's leaving, but it has no impact really to some extent. And you just see some mad theories getting knocked about. But the frustration lied of, we weren't finishing the chances. We were giving individual mistakes away, and we're getting punished for them. And if you look at Boro's numbers, we don't really give much away at all. But when we do, it's a really high quality chance. But it's from that individual error. And then going forward, like we said, like under Michael Carrick, we've been excellent going forward. One of the top goal scorers in his first season when we had Akpom Archer. And then last year, scoring goals for fun. And this year, it's kind of the opposite, where we're not really scoring them. But defensively, we've been incredibly sound. And apart from the individual errors part. But that kind of showed last night when it can come together. And it has shown against West Brom and against Leeds as well. We've played them. We haven't conceded a goal against any of them and scored goals when it mattered and played really well. So we've shown what we can do, but we're frustrated that we're not higher than where we should be.
Yeah, it does feel like Boro in a little bit of a false position at the moment. The underlying data suggests that, you are a much better side than maybe where you are on the table at the moment. I suppose with that, where is the expectation, the bar for this campaign? I sort of mentioned maybe like Norwich, probably trying to hope for pushing for top 6, 8th last campaign, probably disappointing given, the playoff campaign you had prior to that. So is it just getting in that playoffs? Would it be a failure if you don't get there?
Yeah, I think it is a failure if we don't get there, to be honest. We've got a good squad there. We've got good depth across the group and a good manager as well, and Michael Carrick. And the expectation on Teesside I've seen people say top 2. And we've predicted in my podcast top 6. I think we'd be 5th or 6th, to be honest, just because of the inconsistencies that we've had as a team over the last couple of seasons. But if we're not there, I think it could be a failure. And if it isn't, then something has went catastrophically wrong, I would say. We should be, bluntly, be in the playoffs this season. But if we're not, then that's a pill that we probably have to swallow. And would I sack Carrick for it? Probably not. I would keep him because I really like him and I really like the football we're playing. But I think he knows that it should be playoffs this season.
Yeah, you just mentioned there Michael Carrick, 2 years in the dugout today, the anniversary, of course. What have you made of the evolution of Middlesbrough in his time at the club? And do you feel, maybe now, have you seen any changes from maybe when he first came in terms of playing style approach? Is there any differences at all?
Yeah, I mean, the evolution of Boro's happened over probably the last 4 seasons, to be honest. Even under Chris Wilder, the evolution was starting, and it happened from a person Kieran Scott, coming to Boro and us implementing a head of football, which we never had. And the structure of the club changed completely into a place of, right, we're not going to throw money about anymore. It's going to be more of a long-term play. We have to bring players in that suit the club's ethos rather than what suit the manager's ethos. Chris Wilder started off really well as part of that first appointment for Kieran Scott, really, because we did have Warnock before it, and then we brought Wilder in, and then Wilder went and looked for different clubs, and then kind of threw it all away, to be honest. He had it good at Boro, and Michael Carrick comes in, and we had a squad where it was definitely good enough, and he galvanised it, playing some really good football, exciting to watch, creating plenty of chances. We had the strikers that could finish games off immediately with Cameron Archer and Akpom at the time. And last season was a bit of you could argue, was a bit of a transitional season because of we lost about 80 goals, I think, from who was in the team. So we lost Ryan Giles, Cameron Archer, Chuba Akpom, Aaron Ramsey, who you guys know, and he celebrated, then got injured against us, and hasn't been the same since. And we lost all those players. We had to bring a lot in, sign them all permanently, and then we clicked towards last year, and then this year it's again building a few more, and then hopefully in January of next year be even better. But in terms of Carrick and the football we're playing is really strong. It's definitely advanced from what we've been used to as Boro fans. We went from Tony Pulis to Jonathan Woodgate to Neil Warnock, so wanted to claw my eyes out at that point. Chris Wilder was better, but it's more direct. But this is very much possession-based, playing out from the back, how a lot of teams do now, especially with that goal kick implementation rule. Has definitely developed the game. And we play some really good stuff. It's just, it can be frustrating, especially I think for fans, because you do want to have a bit more direct, you want to be a bit more aggressive sometimes. And it's always good when you're winning, but when you're not winning, it's too tippy-tappy, it's nonsense. I need someone to kick it down the channels. I need someone to lock it in the box. So having that patience, understanding should definitely be with fans, but you're never going to get it in football. But overall, Carrick, brilliant. Really like him. He's destined for bigger things than Middlesbrough, but he seems to like it here. We want him here, and the footballs overall is really good to watch.
Yeah, and of course, you've got lots of exciting young talents coming through as well. I mean, who's maybe been the star man so far this campaign? You mentioned, of course, the window being relatively positive. I think Ben Dokes looked pretty positive from the bits I've seen. Luke Ayling, I think, has been a Boro now for sort of a year or so, but looks to be, still providing in the Championship in terms of his quality. And Hayden Hackney's a player I rate very highly. So maybe who's the player that Norwich fans should be wary of on Sunday?
Riley McGree, he makes Middlesbrough tick. He's a fantastic footballer. He just floats across the pitch in terms of going in from the left-hand side and creating overloads elsewhere. Finn Azaz looks really good as well. He is a bit hit and miss on T-side, really, because I think Boro fans want more from him because they get frustrated because he always goes for the pass where it's a big risk, but if it comes off, you're in front of goal and you're going to create a chance. And so he can be frustrating at times. But for me, Riley McGree is the player to watch. Finn Azaz is a great player. The sign of the summer's been Aidan Morris, who plays midfield with Hayden Hackney, and Howson is just coming back fit again. But you can't drop them both at the moment. And then just to keep an eye on him, I think Emmanuel Latif, he scored last night. Erratic, but if you give him time, he's terrible. But when you give him instinct, he's fantastic. Like, his running off the ball is superb. Getting in front of goal, it's like he panics. And I don't know what it is, but when he doesn't have that time and has to just instinct, every time he's on the money. So, yeah, a few players to watch out for there. But I think Riley McGree for me is just Boro's best player by a country mile.
Yeah, certainly plenty of players there to be wary of. One player you did just mention, actually, Jonny Howson. Of course, Norwich fans are well accustomed to him as a player. Maybe got a little bit of bad talk down in Norfolk after his role in the red card last year for Borja Signs at the Riverside. Maybe not loved quite so much off that. Just intrigued, obviously, you mentioned he's been out of injury for most of this season. Over 300 games now for Boro. Is he still loved up in Teesside as maybe what he is here in Norfolk at Carrow Road?
Yeah, he's definitely loved on Teesside for sure. He got a standing ovation for just going on the pitch last night. Everyone was singing his name as well, and he doesn't get into the squad this year. If I'm honest, in terms of 11, I don't think he gets in with Morrison, Hackney, but he's still well loved, a good leader, and you need that type of player in and around the group to help galvanise or have that experience. So yeah, he's definitely well loved. I'm interested to see what reception he gets at Carrow Road probably on Saturday, but on the weekend. But it's we'll see how he does. We'll see how he does at the weekend, and Monday if he's loved or not. But I don't think he'll start. I think he just came back, and you can't drop Hackney or Morris at the moment.
Yeah, certainly going to be an intriguing one, that one, in terms of reception. Any injuries coming into the game at all? I know, obviously, we're recording this maybe prior to press conferences. And is there any sort of key individual players that are out for this game?
Yeah, there was a few. I think Marcus Foss is probably the one who keeps getting injured. He's just having a terrible time, but a great striker when he's fit. We still don't have Darragh Lenihan, Tommy Smith, Dale Fry, all players that are out on long-term injuries too. But the 11 looks fairly strong at the moment. Most players are back. Tommy Conway came back at the weekend and is making a bit of a difference from that. And yeah, so apart from the longer-term absentees of Lenihan, Tommy Smith, Dale Fry, we look fairly okay for the weekend.
Yeah, before I get your thoughts on the game, just intrigued to get maybe your take on Norwich this season. Have you seen much of us via the TV or any social channels, whatever it might be? And obviously under a new era now, under Yanisov Torok, very different to last year under David Wagner. So I'm expecting a different test maybe on Sunday than what you got last year versus Norwich.
Yeah, I thought Norwich were the better side against us from last season in a couple of moments, especially the one at the Riverside where that red card completely changed the game, didn't it? This season, I haven't really seen much of Norwich, to be honest. When I'm looking at like their underlying numbers, it feels like they're kind of where they should be, and I'm intrigued to see what they are like. I definitely feel like I should research more of them and look at some clips on Wisecout. But I'm just intrigued with the game. I feel like I've been so engrossed in how we've been playing. I've took my eye off the likes of Norwich, who I think will be up there coming the end of the season. The squad is definitely good enough. It's just to see how you'll tick this year. How do you think they're ticking at the moment? Do you think like Norwich kind of where they should be?
Yeah, I'd say so. Obviously, they're probably further ahead maybe in this journey than what I thought they would be. And obviously, a completely different set of players, a different manager, different coach, different sporting director, all very new. Even obviously the ownership I mentioned off camera has changed as well. So it's quite a fresh feel. And I maybe felt a little bit maybe what Boro had last year. Transitional season would be how it would play out. But I think, there's been some pretty positive signs. And if they avoid defeat against Boro on Sunday, it will be a whole calendar year since the last time they were beat at Carrow Road. So, I mean, that sort of statistic shows you the home form could be a key pillar in this season. But I just think it's about that away form. Can they just improve that marginally? And I think that might be enough to just about help them push towards the top six. But I feel most Norwich fans would say if they don't get there this season, it's probably not the end of the world because they just want to see progress under this manager. And I think at the moment, it's pretty fair to say that they're seeing that. And that's why I'm probably excited to see how they get on Sunday against a good Boro side who are sort of 2 years under Carrick, maybe a little bit further on in that journey. With that, I suppose, how do you see this game going? How do you see it unfolding?
I'm really intrigued by it. Really intrigued. Middlesbrough play better against teams that are more expansive or in terms of a willing not to, park the bus. I think when we've struggled against teams that we can't break them down sometimes, just mainly because we've given something away and then they've got something to sit on, and then it's like we will fight to the death to keep this win or a point. And I think Norwich will come to try and match us. I'm just intrigued to see how we will probably play it in terms of yesterday against Sheffield United. We were much happier to sit in a really compact shape, be aggressive in our press, let the ball horseshoe from side to side, and we nullified Sheffield United completely, and then we were able to take our chance when we got it. I think this could be quite a similar game, to be honest. I think it could be a little bit like a chess match early doors, both teams finding each other out. I don't think it'll be a high-scoring game. I think it could be either a 1 or a 2-0. A team will probably score, I would say, probably 50th, 60th minute, and as a team progresses on, a body will go forward, and then it'll probably be 2-0 from there. So that's what I think I want to go for, to be honest. That's how I see it playing out. Which way, I'm not too sure. Because if you guys score first, I can't really see us coming back into it as much. Whereas if we score first, I'm just intrigued to see how we react to that. So, yeah, can I go over 2-0 scoreline, but not tell you who to?
I can accept that. Yeah, I can think. I always try and push people for one, but yeah, that's on this occasion. I think that's completely fair. Obviously, it's going to be I feel like with you, a cagey game, two sides that are both going to be competitive in terms of the end of the campaign and where they're going to be in the championship. And it's going to be a bit of a chess match, two sides, as you mentioned, trying to figure each other out. And it's almost which side can probably get that first goal. I think the first goal in this counter could be a big moment because, your guys' defensive records, is in quality in terms of the division. Norwich are scoring goals for fun more generally. So it's just about can they get over that Middlesbrough defensive record, try and get in behind. And if they do get the early goal, then maybe it's a different game altogether. But yeah, I can see it being a tight affair. I think I'm just going to swing from, I can see a draw. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, which is probably sitting on the fence and probably the most boring result. But given that, both sides are going to be where they're going to be at the end of the campaign, it's going to be an intriguing one. And before we just round off, just intrigued to get any sort of memorable games or moments from this fixture. I mean, there's one that sticks out for most Norwich fans, which I'm sure you're not going to mention, but I think Boro had hand a little bit in recent times. So is there any that stick out in recent memory?
Man, I knew it was going to be mentioned. To be fair, I was actually going to say it's a memorable game for all the wrong reasons, to be honest. Because we beat you twice that year, didn't we? It was 1-0 at Carrow Road where we just parked the bus for 90 minutes. And that was the result where I thought, bloody hell, we're going to go up automatically, and we bottled it. And we beat you 4-0, didn't we, at the Riverside that season? So to lose it on the playoffs was just brutal. Oh, God. You know what? There's one game which really stands out for me, and it's Norwich 4, Middlesbrough 4. We were 3-1 up or 4-1 up, and we conceded 3 in the last 10, 15 minutes or something. It was under Steve McLaren for us, and we had like a really good side then. So yeah, I'll probably go that one just for the sheer fact that I couldn't believe what I was witnessing when I was a bit younger, just to see like I can't believe we pissed this away, to be honest. But yeah, I'll go with that one. I think that's probably the one memorable one. And then in recent times, I think that was last season. Yeah, it was last season with McGree's shot. That was glorious. But some good memories, I think, for both sides, isn't there? Like really good memories. But I feel like you'd be clinging on to that Wembley one. Maybe this could be the year we get one back on you. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's always ironic that we're sort of saying this could be a tight and cagey game when there's often been lots of goals between these two. But feels like this game's going to be slightly different. Just Johnny, finally before we round off, just want to plug your guys' podcast. Lots of really good content on there for Norwich and Boro fans to go and look and listen to.
Yeah, it's just search for the Boro Breakdown Podcast on YouTube, on socials, and and your podcast providing, you'll be able to find us. And yeah, we'll be reviewing this game on Sunday. So yeah, thanks for having me on, Adam.
Yeah, really appreciate you coming on. We'll link all that good stuff down below. Go check those guys out. They do some really good work. So, well worth looking into ahead of this game, which, as we mentioned, is going to be a good one. Two sides that are wanting to try and win this game will try and take it to each other. So intrigued to see how it plays out. Of course, we'll be at Carrow Road on Sunday with all the usual content around this game. Speaking to Johannes off Torp tomorrow. Fingers crossed for no more bad injury news for Norwich going into this game. Of course, Nunez and Gunn being out is probably a huge blow, as we sort of saw the other night against Preston. So hopefully, though, those individuals that they get the opportunity can step up and make this a good occasion. And of course, from a Norwich perspective, we hope for 3 points.